Hi, I'm Faye, and welcome to Friends and Faye. Today we'll be making a fantasy-inspired foam knife out of XPS. This is Juno, and we will be discussing the process. It is done in 3 distinct parts. We have the blade, the guard, and the grip. For this project, I started with the blade. Best to start with the blade because the rest of your dagger will be shaped around the blade. This is actually 2 pieces of foam that have sandwiched a piece of wood, and in doing so have created one blade. And what's nice about this is that when you wood glue and spray paint over it, it completely hides the seam of where the 2 pieces met. As much as the wood channel gives the blade strength, it also creates a large constraint about what your design can be. So when I was cutting inwards to create I ran into the wood that I had carved, that I had slotted inside. So it's like all about how much do you want to take off. So using a blade will take off a lot of material, and it's also somewhat dangerous to the material. It's very easy to accidentally make a too large of a cut, make a slice where you don't want it to.
So what would happen if 2 people got into a sword fight with XPS foam swords?
It would be very fun to watch. There'd be tons of little particles everywhere.
Yeah? Why?
Because you'd tear each other to pieces.
What do you mean? Tear each other to pieces?
No, the blades would tear each other to pieces.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
XPS foam, you hit it and it deforms. So that's why we put a piece of wood on the inside of it to give it structure and weight.
It doesn't bend in very easily, but I'd kind of compare it to kind of balsa wood in the way that you can shape it. But then what's nice about the wood glue and spray paint is it also is sort of protection for that foam, because this is the kind of foam where you can just kind of put your fingernail into it and you'll be able to actually see the mark.
It is definitely the most satisfying step. It's just it's honestly the easiest step out of all of them. And yet it really so quickly transforms it from a piece of foam into a blade. You did bring up a good point that throughout the process, you really have to be careful of leaving little dents from your own fingernails and tools and where you set it down throughout the process, because it really is that easy to dent. Truly, a lot of it will get covered up in the end by the wood glue process. It smooths out a lot of things, but there are still a lot of details that I know that I accidentally put into this that is never coming out. So I wanted to, where I had made a very just simple round guard before, I really wanted to go for very geometric. I wanted to go for interesting curves. Wanted to have a hand-carved handle instead of just a basic sanding. I wanted to use stain and poly, and I wanted to have the blade itself have multiple shapes to it and not just be one long flat piece.
So what is the most like confusing moment when you showed your friends the the earlier versions of this video? Or
I think the process is somewhat confusing, and there's a lot of things like, why are we coating this thing in a liquid? That was a lot of my goal with this piece, was to take a lot of the techniques that I had learned before and then step them up a notch. So I wanted to, where I had made a very like just simple round guard before, I really wanted to go for like very geometric. I wanted to go for interesting curves and dimension to the foam and not just a very simple round shape.
yeah, something I'm dying to know is basically if we can use this same process on wood itself. So we've like done test pieces of the metal spray paint, but it's kind of funny because you can actually see the wood grain through it. So you'll spray it on, and no matter how many coats you do, you kind of see the like, it looks like wood, like a silver tree grew. But the thought is like maybe just like the XPS foam, we could take wood glue, coat it, and then maybe it wouldn't like soak in the same way in those little spots.
I was using the heavy duty wood glue with the goal of having a glue that dries slower, which means I have more time to work with it before it becomes too tacky to move around easy. To create a smooth surface to spray paint over. The spray paint really requires, like metal spray paint specifically, requires a very smooth surface for it to look like metal. If you have a very bumpy surface underneath, all of that will show in the final product. My favorite step was definitely the carving of the grip. I also really enjoyed the shaping of the guard, but it's also the most stressful.
Yeah. I think that's definitely that, like maybe the highest detail piece was the guard.
When you are making like the first half of a piece, then you can just ask, any mistake and you can fix it and it is what it is. But when you're doing something symmetrical, then it becomes a problem.
One of the things I had to cut out the most was when she'd be carving something. She literally okay, for the guard, where it's like the two sides that hook into, she would do one side, and then when doing the second side, went and hold them up like this and be like, what, is it the same?
Yeah. But it's you really got to make sure that every single cut you make has to be in line with the other replica. I really wanted to try to have a really nice piece of wood to hold and have it be smooth and curved, and as well add a touch of ornateness.
Totally. I think having it actually look like a more traditional sword grip compared to just on your last one. I loved it. I actually liked the darker wood stain, I think, on the last sword.
Yeah.
The fabled sword we continue to reference in this
Go watch the video.
That's in a different video.
I really want to lean into some of those Victorian Renaissance.
What were you looking at? We went to a little a local Shakespeare production.
Oh my gosh, that was so fun.
And she was drooling over these these swords. They're kind of those, you could look up Shakespeare play swords or whatever. And I think I don't know what era they're from. I'm not that good at history, but they're the ones where you're holding the handle and it has all these little metal pieces that come around and they kind of form a little sphere-ish thing. But oh my gosh, she was getting so excited. She's like, how do I make that? How am I gonna make that out of foam? or not foam or whatever means necessary. Why we're interested in this kind of stuff is like from a very like Ren Fair type place.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I kind of love all prop things. I'd love to hold some like time period or like magical or
gosh.
fantasy like parties
Yes.
or something like that.
Mhm. Everyone bring their own swords.
Everyone
They
brings
made.
the sword that they
Mhm.
made. Yeah, your ticket. It's like
Mhm.
no. You get like mailed the golden sword, but it's like the golden ticket to a crazy party.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
imagine her making the same sword 10 times, and so instead of like holding up the two different
Yeah.
parts of the guard, she's trying to like hold up like 10, like like I guess 20,
Wouldn't you just
like
love
20
to see
up in
that?
a row. Yeah. Let's see an imagined